Would I be wrong to ask if my wife is cheating? I've been married to my 31 male wife, 31 female, for 2.5 years. She is quite close to her sister and sometimes stays over for movie nights, girl conversation, and so on. It does not bother me in the least. Her sister has recently been experiencing troubles at work as well as conflict with her other siblings. She has started asking my wife to stay the night more often as a result of her stress. This has irritated my wife, who claims she doesn't have time for herself. My wife has remained with me 3 times this week, including today, which is unusual. On my way home after hanging out with a buddy, I grew worried and decided to drive over and see if she was still there. It was dark outside, but her automobile didn't seem to be there. I contacted her shortly after I arrived home, and she stated she was getting ready to leave her sister's house. We've been having problems with intimacy for a long, and she's promised to work on it. These difficulties are leading me to believe that she may be seeking for fulfillment outside of our marriage. I want to confront her about not being at her sister's house, but I'm afraid I'll be mistaken. In addition, we want to attend a fireworks display with friends on Memorial Day and don't want to make things unpleasant. Is it wrong for me to confront her? Update 1. When she went home that morning, her phone received a notice while she was asleep. The texts were from an old high school crush. Instead of seeing her sister, she seemed to have been meeting him for. This has been going on for more than a year. She has met at both his and our homes. They were also deeply affected emotionally. She had more intercourse with him than she had with me throughout our whole marriage. She found a method to meet with him whenever I was at work or with my friends. When I challenged her, she attempted to lie about everything. I backed her up against a wall with evidence, and she ultimately confessed. She sobbed and apologized many times, but I left the home. I had minor doubts throughout the years, but I dismissed them as paranoia. We haven't had since we were married and have gone through marriage therapy. Otherwise, everything was going swimmingly in our relationship. There was nothing wrong with her drive, she simply liked having with other guys and going home to pay her expenses. I'm really sad and enraged. I did all I could to be a good spouse. I didn't deserve any of this. This will very certainly lead to trust concerns in my future relationships. We don't have any children or own property together. Update 2. Here's an update to my prior post from last week. I discovered an error in my last post. We've been married for 1.5 years, not 2.5. As much as I wanted things to work out for us, I have chosen to cancel the marriage. We discussed, and she is still perplexed as to why she opted to have an affair or why we stayed. She regrets what occurred and is contrite. When I found out about the affair, I made some unpleasant remarks and insults, which was very out of character for me. I felt deceived since I believed I was doing everything right in the marriage. This includes therapy, prayer, and in-depth conversations. I'm sorry because I genuinely wanted things to work out. I honestly believed we were on to something remarkable. I assumed we'd get over our problems and be okay. It hurts to let go, but I know it's for the best. My trust and self-confidence are non-existent. My life will be a lot better from here on out. I've been informed that I will one day find someone with whom I will be much happy. I'm hoping that things will improve for me, but I'm not seeing it right now. Story 2. My wife named our son after her first love and I had no idea. Because she knows about my primary account, this is my backup account. My kid is 5 years old. We were out shopping about 2 days ago when we bumped into a high school acquaintance of hers. She was catching up with a friend when she informed her that we had a boy. My wife hesitated when the old buddy requested his name, so I told her. She gave you an odd look before saying, "You mean like your former boyfriend?" Our son's name is so unusual that I've never met anybody else with the same name. She now refuses to speak to me about it. I'm feeling misled and repulsed by her. It's as if a switch was flicked in my head, and I can't look at her the same way anymore. Update 1. There are a lot of questions, so I'll go ahead and address a couple that have been brought up a few times. I'm not going to reveal the identity of my son. I had no clue that was her high school ex's name until we discussed it. I knew she had a high school boyfriend whose name was never revealed to me, and their relationship lasted around 2 years. I'm unhappy, but it doesn't mean I'm going to be abusive. I'd never raise my hand in front of my wife or anybody else I care about. I will always adore my kid and will never ever treat him differently. I'll publish an update whenever I speak with her, which should be in a day or two. Update 2. So, first and foremost, let's get certain things out of the way. I have custody of the child. I have noticeable traits that he also has, and her ex was black, although I am white. I'm not going to throw him away, as several people advised in the comments. When we were choosing on a name, she said that she recalled someone from school who had it and fell in love with it right away. My wife and I both had a pretty promiscuous history before we met and decided that the past should remain in the past, so I didn't press too hard for specifics. I knew she had a high school boyfriend who cheated on her, but I never asked his name, which is my mistake. It's time for an update. We didn't have the talk on Thursday since it was her late day at work, and I didn't want to do it with our kid in the home. So, when she got in Thursday night, I told her that we needed to get down and discuss Friday after work, and that if she had any arrangements, she needed to cancel them. She shook her head and muttered, "Okay." Friday rolled along, and we sat down when her sister arrived to bring up our kid for a sleepover. I questioned why they wouldn't tell me where our name originated from. She apologized but said she didn't believe it was that big of an issue and that I wouldn't consent to it. I told her that was my option as well, and she took it away from me. I asked her if she would feel the same way if we had a girl and named her after one of my exes, and she responded no way, she wouldn't allow that happen. She said that she is aware that she can separate the name from her ex, but she is unsure that I can do the same. I was taken aback and began to feel worse than I had before. I told her it was one of the dumbest things I had ever heard someone say. I went on since I had more questions and was ready to explode based on what she had just stated. I asked whether she still loved him, and she stopped for a while before saying yes, but not in the same way she loves me, and that you don't simply quit loving someone, love evolves. At this moment, I wanted to vomit. She could tell I was in a bad mood. She smiled at me and told me she just wants to be with me. I said that I wanted to know how much you love him. She then placed her hand on my leg and attempted to divert the conversation. I ordered her to remove her filthy hand off my face and answer the question right now. Right then, her attitude shifted from wanting to go on to no, he didn't just swear at me. She added, "Look, I understand you're unhappy, but what's done is done, so you need to get over it and go on." She stood up and said, "I'm going to meet my mom for supper. I'll see you when you come home." I informed her that if she walks out that door, she won't. She stared at me as if I were full of, grabbed her bag, and walked away. Last night, I packed my belongings and slept at a friend's place. I'm simply sitting here trying to figure out what I should do next. Update 3. So, first and foremost, thank you for all of your support. With the exception of a few trolls who called me the most of you have been fantastic. So I returned home the following day after spending the night somewhere else. She didn't say anything to me other than hello and went back to fiddling with her laptop. I walked upstairs, dropped my belongings in the guest room, and laid down to nap since I hadn't gotten much sleep the night before. She walked in and asked what I was doing, and I informed her that I would be sleeping in here until she was ready to sit down and have an adult chat about the name. She rolled her eyes and said she thought I was done, and she wondered why I bothered to come home if I was going to behave like this. I informed her that it's my house, and I'm not going to lose out on time with my kid just because you can't identify right from wrong, or at the very least confess it. She stormed off, and that was the end of the day. When I got home from work the following day, she was waiting for me on the sofa. She inquired as to what it would take for us to return to normalcy. I told her that first and foremost, we would need to consult with a marital counselor and discuss changing our son's name to his middle name. The expression of wrath on her face as I stated that final line was unlike anything I'd ever seen. I hate to admit it, but seeing that made me happy. She rushed out, telling me to go myself, which was never going to happen. We didn't say anything else the remainder of the day. My wife hadn't returned home from work by the following day. It was her parents who began hammering on the door. They said that we needed to chat, so I welcomed them in and we sat down. They said that they were always aware that what she did was wrong, as were her whole family and all of her friends. They apologized to me for keeping it a secret and said that they support therapy and would gladly pay for it, but changing his name is too drastic. I thanked them and said that I hadn't taken that choice hastily. I informed them that you never know what you do until you're in this scenario. They departed after a little more conversation and requested me not to tell my wife they had come by. I agreed. I contacted around shortly after they departed, located a counselor, and scheduled an appointment that fit with both of our work schedules. When my wife arrived, I informed her about the appointment, and she just walked away without saying anything. Our meeting is on Thursday, and I'm still sleeping in the guest room. So far, that's what's been going on. Thank you, and I'll try to keep you updated as soon as I can. Edit. I simply wanted to express that I'm not going to go ahead and alter the name. It's something I'm thinking about. I'd want to speak with the counselor first to determine what influence it would have, if any, and how to proceed if there isn't one.